Hi there, and welcome to the first ever episode of Mining the Comments, which is replacing what I usually used to call, the weekly rundown. And the reason I decided to call it Mining the Comments is actually from a comment from, I think, maybe 2 years ago when somebody was really excited, found the channel, and said, "There's gold in the comments," and that always stuck with me. I believe that so much of the value here is in the comments section where there's discussion and people sharing their thoughts, ideas, asking questions, etc. So it's true gold there. And so this Friday episode, I'm going to think of as mining for gold, like going down to gold mine and mining, for golden nuggets of insight, or just like questions that can lead to something really insightful. So welcome to this new series. And as promised, the first ever comment we'll look at came 10 days ago. It was a comment on that holiday episode that I actually was a rehash of an older one. But anyways, here it is. It's Jack Will who wrote the following 10 days ago. Hi, Daniel. One thing you have never talked about before. Can you create a video on this or answer here? You see, when we have insomnia, our brain starts tracking sleep. For the brain, nothing in the world is more important than experiencing good sleep. It's looking for that, forcing us to close our eyes at night, or tempting us to do something which can result in sleep. Now, sleep is the opposite of awareness. If the brain is aware and wants to see that we are sleeping or we slept, practically it can never happen because that's not how sleep works. Letting go is also not easy because the brain has one strong point to hold on to. There's no guarantee that you will sleep tonight, that you'll sleep well. You didn't sleep for many days, then how will you sleep today? And practically that's true. Sleep never comes with a guarantee. But the thing is now that the sleep thought is in your mind, it's there and it wasn't there before. So I would like you to guide your audience on this, which can help anyone, because this can logically pile up. And so this is a humble request, Jack says. And there was definitely something here that I thought we never really talked about, that I was looking forward to talking about. So thank you, Jill, for this, or what I'm saying, thank you, Jack, for this. And with that said, I want to start by sort of summarizing like the 3 points that I saw Jack make here. And the first one was this, that our brain can only ascertain that we sleep or that we slept when it's awake. In other words, if we're really curious, if we're sleeping or not sleeping, if we want to know if we're sleeping or not sleeping, then that in itself can only happen when we're awake, which lends to wakefulness. And I call this sometimes very similarly to what I call the wonder wall. And this is when somebody, I often share this teaching when somebody says, "Hey, Daniel, like, I'm not anxious anymore, but I'm wondering why I'm not sleeping more." And to me, it's the wonder in itself. It's the curiosity. It's the brain's desire to monitor and track and know what's going on that then keeps us awake. So this is the first point that I think Jack made really nicely. And number 2 here was that there's no guarantee. And the fact, like, when the brain is kind of in a frazzled state, it wants to have some sense of control, but there truly is no guarantee. So how can the brain sort of like let go of its desire to know what's going to happen if there truly is no way to know what's going to happen? There is no guarantee. That can keep the brain kind of like, in this loop of trying to predict or see what's going to happen, right? That was second point. And third one was, Jack's saying that in a way, like, there never was any guarantee. Like there never was any guarantee. But the difference from before is that there was no question. There was no thought about that. There was no question in the mind of whether there is a guarantee or not. So once that thought has popped up, like, what do we do with that? So basically these 3 points to me translate to these 3 questions. How can we not wonder if we will sleep or not when we have wondered that? 2, how can we change our focus or shift our attention in the absence of a guarantee? And number 3, how can we undo a thought habit, a habitual thought, once it has started to happen? And I'm going to use today's episode as a little bit of a preamble to Monday. Monday, I'm going to share some, I think, really fundamental teaching that I think can be really helpful. We're going to talk Monday about what I call tokens and signals. And basically, a token is anything that the brain has started to represent danger or unhealth, illness, something like that. And the signal is, whenever our brain thinks we're in danger, it wants to communicate that to us. And typically a signal is the most common signal to us is fear. Fear makes us fight or flight, right? But any uncomfortable emotion really is a signal, if you will. That's a teaching we're going to go over on Monday. We're going to go over that today as well. Again, it's kind of a more kind of introduction to Monday's teaching. But I want to first start by answering these 3 questions how I traditionally would have answered them, which I think can also helpful. So if we look at this one, how can we not wonder if we sleep or not? To me, the answer is to just understand that, yes, it is true. Curiosity, trying to track, when the brain is trying to track what's going on, that in itself can keep us awake. But when we understand the big picture that, this is very common, nothing strange or unusual, curiosity can keep us awake. And that's why I'm awake sometimes. And there's nothing strange about that, nothing that is difficult to understand really when we see it in front of us. That automatically leads to less curiosity and leads to less desire to know and monitor, right? So I think just seeing this automatically leads to where we want to be. When we think there's something strange going on, that automatically leads to this fading away. So that's how I usually taught on this one. And how can we change focus, shift attention in the absence of a guarantee? To me, it's sort of very similar here, that if we think, if we apply this from a point of effort, where I'm trying to look in that direction, I'm trying hard to look at this way, then the brain's going to be like, oh yeah, but the danger thing is there, we should look at this way. And so when we try to deploy the forcefully change our thoughts and our habits, then that often leads to an internal struggle. So I think, actually, as paradoxical as it sounds here, it is when we see that, yes, I'm very focused on this, and that's okay. That doesn't need an intervention. Just let the brain learn by itself automatically. That is how I think that I think is valid teaching, and how I used to teach this before. And how can we undo a thought habit once it has happened? Actually, the answer, I think, is very much the same. To see that thoughts are automatic. If we try to stop a thought, it's sort of like trying to tell a friend who has a important message for us to stop. Like, don't tell me that, don't tell me that. The more we say that, the more they're going to actually want to convey that. Same with thoughts. The more we try to stop a thought or a habit, the more of that habit we're actually going to maintain. So when we see that thoughts can come, we can allow them to be there, that automatically leads to them fading. Now we're going to look at a little bit of a deeper layer here. And again, the preamble to Monday. And, here's where I start. We wouldn't be bothered by being awake at night if this hadn't started to represent danger or unhealth, that something is wrong to our brain. And in other words, being awake at night can start to become a token. A token is something that represents danger or unhealth to the brain. Now, not only wouldn't we be bothered by it if it hadn't become a token, but also, in addition to this becoming a token, for the token to bother us, there needs to be some kind of alarm, some kind of signal, and that is an uncomfortable emotion. When the brain thinks we're in danger, it creates an uncomfortable emotion. Often it may be anger, it may be sadness, but often it is fear. That's the most common one. Similarly, we wouldn't wonder how not to wonder if the fact that we're wondering wouldn't somehow be tokenized in the same way. If our brain didn't think that, I'm wondering so much about this, that's a problem, this is dangerous, this is unhealthy. If wondering hadn't become a token, and this token didn't produce the signal of an uncomfortable emotion, there wouldn't be any struggle there whatsoever. So to summarize this, we can see that wakefulness, I bring up this token of wakefulness because it's the one that drives insomnia. But from Jack's comments, we had wondering, uncertainty, and thoughts. All these things can become these tokens, something that represents danger, something we think shouldn't be there, or the brain thinks this represents something that isn't right, if you will. And that then, the token representing danger, that produces some type of signal to us, like some type of nudge to get to safety. And that can be fear, anger, anxiety, sadness. And without this, the tokens wouldn't bother us. So it is really always that uncomfortable safety signal, most common fear. That's what we want to get away from. That's what we want to escape. And whenever we try to escape an emotion, it's again like a signal that isn't heard. It amplifies that signal. So I think a key thing is seeing that being awake, wondering, uncertainty, thoughts are just harmless tokens, and we can be willing to experience them, but perhaps even more importantly, being willing to experience the signal that the tokens produce. And when that happens, when we're like, okay, not only am I willing to experience uncertainty, but also the fear that comes with uncertainty. If I'm okay with that, the signal itself, then we're truly showing the brain that not only is uncertainty safe, harmless, so is the signal that it produces, so is the fear, so is whatever emotion I'm feeling is completely harmless. That teaches us that we are safe, and then everything else really becomes irrelevant. I hope this made sense to you, even at this sort of like briefer level, or the shorter version of this. If not, then Monday I'm going to present some teaching that I think will be really, really helpful and fundamental, and really something that you're going to hear much more about on this channel are tokens and signals, because I think it's really something of a game changer for me. So yeah, I want to conclude there. I wish you a wonderful weekend. As always, if you're finding your path to where you want to be, thanks to the free content here, that is wonderful. Please let us know. Share some hope and inspiration. If you think things are a little bit tricky, you're not really seeing things get easier for you, then head over to our website. Check out our coaching options. And if you decide to join, we look forward to seeing you on the other side. That's it again. Have a wonderful weekend, and look forward to having you back real soon. Bye for now.